Most people think classic British cars were charming little machines, plucky, dependable, and wonderfully full of character. Many of them were exactly that. But some were so achingly slow they made walking seem like a genuinely competitive alternative. Today on Britain Rewind, we are counting down the 10 slowest British cars of the 1940s, machines born from wartime austerity, painful post-war shortages, and engineering compromises that still raise eyebrows today. Some names will surprise you, others have been almost entirely forgotten. And the car sitting at number 1? It takes slow motoring to a completely different level. Now let's start our journey with number 10. Number 10, Austin 10. At number 10 we begin with the Austin 10, one of the most recognizable small cars on Britain's roads throughout the 1940s. Launched in 1939 just before war halted civilian production entirely, it returned post-war in very familiar form and continued running until 1947. Under the bonnet sat a 1,125cc four-cylinder side-valve engine producing around 32 horsepower. That modest output delivered a top speed of roughly 65 miles per hour, and only under ideal conditions, with a clear road and a light load. The side-valve layout was already considered outdated engineering even then, chosen for dependability rather than outright performance. Drivers reported that the car felt breathless and strained whenever pushed beyond a gentle cruise. Post-war material shortages added further dullness to the experience overall. Still, the Austin 10 served thousands of British families faithfully for many years. Think 65 miles per hour sounds genuinely slow? And the cars ahead on this list will make the Austin 10 feel positively brisk. Number 9, Hillman Minx Phase 1. Step down to number 9 and meet the Hillman Minx, a car that was everywhere on Britain's streets during the 1940s, yet one that barely deserved the word performer. The Rootes Group built the Minx at their Coventry factories, fitting it with a 1,185cc side-valve four-cylinder engine developing around 35 horsepower. On paper, that output delivered a top speed of roughly 63 miles per hour. In practice, most Minx owners rarely pushed anywhere near that figure on public roads. The old side-valve technology consistently prioritized smoothness and mechanical longevity over any desire for outright pace. Load the car with 4 occupants and a case of luggage, and that modest top speed would fall noticeably. The Hillman Minx was honest transport for ordinary British people in genuinely difficult post-war times, nothing more, nothing less. Its mechanical formula barely changed across the decade, which reveals everything about the conservative Rootes Group engineering philosophy. And the car at number 8 manages to be even less inspiring. Number 8, Ford Prefect E93A. Number 8 brings us to the Ford Prefect E93A, a car that may well be the single most anonymous vehicle on this entire countdown, and that is saying something considerable. Ford's Dagenham plant produced the Prefect from 1940 right through to 1948, giving it a lifespan that stretched across almost the entire decade. Power came from a 1,172cc four-cylinder side-valve engine developing approximately 30 horsepower, a modestly more substantial unit than many rivals, yet one that still delivered a thoroughly underwhelming top speed of roughly 62 miles per hour. The Prefect was Ford's slightly upmarket alternative to the Anglia, offering a longer body and marginally more interior space. But neither quality translated into performance of any description whatsoever. Owners valued the Ford's straightforward reliability and easy roadside servicing above all else. If you have never heard of this forgotten British Ford, you are genuinely not alone. Most people today have completely erased it from memory. If you're enjoying these overlooked British motoring stories, do consider subscribing to Britain Rewind. Number 7 introduces even less horsepower. Number 7, Singer 9. At number 7, we find a car that deserves far more attention than it receives in classic British motoring discussions, the Singer 9. Built by Singer of Birmingham, the 9 featured a notably sophisticated 972cc overhead camshaft four-cylinder engine, a genuinely advanced engineering choice compared to the side-valve technology dominating the 1940s market. In theory, that overhead camshaft design should have produced a livelier performance than its rivals. And yet the 9 still only managed a top speed of around 62 miles per hour, because despite its mechanical sophistication, the engine produced just 28 horsepower. Refinement, it turned out, did not translate into pace. Drivers who chose the Singer 9 were typically drawn by its mechanical finesse and the prestige of the Singer name rather than any expectation of speed. Singer's products carried genuine cachet among educated buyers, and the company took obvious pride in their progressive engineering approach. Very few enthusiasts today remember this unusual machine exists. But wait, the next car drops even further down the speed scale entirely. Number 6, Morris 8 Series E. Arriving at number 6, we encounter one of the most common cars on British roads during and after the war, the Morris 8 Series E. This model was a genuine cornerstone of British motoring throughout the 1940s, and its continued production into the late post-war years made it an extraordinarily familiar sight nationwide. But familiarity and performance rarely keep company. Under the bonnet of the Series E sat a modest 918cc four-cylinder side-valve engine generating around 29 horsepower. Top speed was approximately 60 miles per hour, a figure that demanded considerable optimism from the driver. The side-valve layout kept manufacturing costs low and mechanical complexity minimal, which suited the austerity market perfectly. Buyers were not shopping for performance, they were shopping for reliability and affordability, both of which the Morris 8 delivered faithfully and without drama. Could you imagine making a daily 30-mile commute in one of these today? Thousands of British families did exactly that in 1947. The next entry takes this problem to an entirely different level. Number 5, Standard 8. Number 5 on our countdown belongs to the Standard 8, a name that tells you almost everything you need to know about its performance ambitions. The Standard Motor Company of Coventry built this sturdy little saloon throughout the late 1930s and into the post-war years, equipping it with a 1021cc four-cylinder side-valve engine producing around 28 horsepower. Top speed was a rather grim 60 miles per hour. What makes the Standard 8 particularly compelling as a story is that it was deliberately engineered to be as simple and as affordable as possible, making it genuinely accessible transport at a time when money was extremely tight indeed. Standard's engineers made absolutely no apology for the modest performance. They were building a dependable tool for working Britain, not a toy for the wealthy minority. The driving experience was functional at best and utterly tedious at worst. Yet the Standard 8 became one of the most practical small cars of the entire decade. Tell us in the comments, would you have driven one of these to work every morning? The car at number 4 was even more breathless. Number 4, Austin 8. Down to number 4, and we encounter the Austin 8, a car that squeezed every ounce of performance from almost no mechanical resources whatsoever. Built at Austin's Longbridge factory and powered by a tiny 900cc four-cylinder side-valve engine producing around 24 horsepower, the Austin 8 was quite simply one of the least powerful production cars Britain offered to the public during the entire decade. Top speed was approximately 58 miles per hour, but achieving that figure felt like an act of considerable mechanical courage on the part of the engine. The Austin 8 was intended as genuinely affordable transport for working British families, and it fulfilled that humble role with reasonable dependability across difficult years. Overtaking on any open road, however, required careful planning and extraordinary patience from the driver. Many who drove one described the experience as simultaneously cheerful and utterly hopeless in equal measure. But the story gets even more surprising. Number 3 arrives from a different manufacturer entirely, and somehow manages to be even more underpowered. Things only get slower from here. Number 3, Ford Anglia E04A. At number 3 arrives a car that is barely remembered today outside dedicated British motoring circles, the Ford Anglia E04A. Ford's Dagenham factory produced this narrow little saloon from 1939 right through to 1948, continuing deep into the post-war years with remarkable commercial persistence. Under its long, upright bonnet sat a 933cc four-cylinder side-valve engine producing just 23 horsepower, technically lower output than the Austin 8 despite similar displacement, which rather tells its own story. Top speed was around 58 miles per hour, though the engine sounded considerably more strained, achieving that figure than its numbers alone would suggest. The E04A was extraordinarily Spartan inside, with minimal equipment and a driving experience that tested the patience of anyone who ventured onto faster roads. Ford positioned it squarely at buyers who prioritized price absolutely above everything else, and there was an enormous market for exactly that approach in austere post-war Britain. Many viewers will be genuinely surprised this car existed in such raw, basic form so late in the decade. Number 2 is where things truly begin to fall apart completely. Number 2, Jowett Bradford. Number 2 on our countdown belongs to a machine most people today have completely forgotten, and yet it was one of the most unusual small vehicles Britain produced in the immediate post-war years. Meet the Jowett Bradford, built in the Yorkshire town of Idle by the characterful Jowett Company, who had been making unconventional cars since 1910. Launched in 1946 to meet enormous demand for practical post-war transport, the Bradford used a truly distinctive 1005cc horizontally opposed flat twin-cylinder engine producing around 25 horsepower. That flat twin configuration ran smoothly and reliably, but it was utterly without ambition in performance terms, pushing the Bradford to a top speed of approximately 55 miles per hour. In practice, most Bradford owners were doing exceptionally well to maintain 50 on flat open roads. The driving experience was agricultural, characterful, and entirely without pretension, which was precisely and honestly the point. Enthusiasts have always adored the Bradford for its Yorkshire stubbornness and mechanical honesty. But now, the car you have been waiting for all along. Number 1 takes slow motoring to an entirely different planet. Number 1, Bond Minicar Mark A. And so we arrive at number 1, the car that makes everything above it look like genuine competition. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Bond Minicar Mark A, launched in 1949 by Sharp's Commercials of Preston, Lancashire. This extraordinary little machine was a three-wheeled microcar of almost incomprehensible fragility, constructed from lightweight aluminium panels and powered by a 122cc Veer single-cylinder two-stroke engine producing a truly jaw-dropping 4.5 horsepower. 4.5 horsepower. The Bond Minicar claimed a top speed of around 45 miles per hour, though many owners reported that reaching even 40 required a noticeable downhill gradient and genuine faith. The engine sat completely exposed at the front, driving the single front wheel directly, with absolutely no reverse gear whatsoever. Turning the car around meant physically lifting the front end with your own hands. To call the interior Spartan would be an act of extraordinary generosity to the manufacturer. And yet the Bond Minicar sold in genuinely surprising numbers, because in post-war Britain, even 45 miles per hour represented hard-won freedom on three wheels. And that brings us to the end of our countdown of the 10 slowest British cars of the 1940s, a remarkable parade of modest machines that carried Britain through some of its most difficult years. From the familiar Austin 10 all the way down to the utterly extraordinary Bond Minicar, these vehicles tell a powerful story about ingenuity, austerity, and the quiet determination of the British public. Which of these surprised you most? And which one would you actually drive today? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through forgotten British motoring history, please do subscribe to Britain Rewind. We will see you on the next one.